clearly?
Good afternoon. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so
Yes.
much.
Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. So, as the thing starts, we'd request all of you to mute your mic and videos. You can keep on, it's up to you, but we're requesting to keep all your mics off. So, I think, shall we wait a little more, or time is not exactly 4, so another 2-3 minutes I think we can take. It's 3:57. It's maybe joining. Yes, this is to inform all of you that the webinar will be recorded. Yeah, I think the time is up, so we can start off and let people join as their convenience. A warm welcome to all of you in this IB Educators Chat. I'm Sujata Chaudhary. I'm the DPC and Physics and TOK faculty of Pledge Harbor International School. And my co-host here is Mr. Tamid. He's the Assistant DPC and BM Facilitator in DP. We have
Hello,
gathered
everyone.
here to have a session. Yes, please, Tamid. Yeah. We have gathered here to have a session to collaborate and share our best practices. Just hoping Miss Lenny and Miss Asika by any chance have they joined? Miss Lenny, I think she told me that if she's free, then she would try to join. We have to thank her for making this IB Educators Chat possible, and Miss Asika for her continuous guidance to all the entire IB educators across the globe. Today we will discuss the IB approaches to teaching in online classroom. Can we go to this particular slide, Mr. Tamid? Hello, Tamid, can you hear me? Yeah, this is one thing we have to everybody please note. You will find a Padlet in your chat box, and before sharing all your, you'll be asked to share continuously your best practices, your ideas. So kindly write your name, school name, and email ID to be able to contact you and send whatever required documents are there. Okay, Tamid, can you go to the next? Next one, Tamid. Okay, so basically we will be talking about the IB teaching approaches. I am sure that most of you who are in IB curriculum for some years are all aware of it. So we will just do a fast recap because I believe some of you are quite new in IB. So it is just 6 approaches which are laid down by IB curriculum. See, to tell you frankly that each of these approaches can form a part of a webinar separately, but since time and other constraints we are going to talk about basically the inquiry-based approach in this seminar, this chat. The others can be taken up. So Initially, I'll just give you a small roundup of each of these. The questions based on inquiry, teaching based on conceptual understanding, local and global context, effective teamwork and collaboration, teaching differentiated to meet the needs of the learners, and informed by assessment. Okay, can we go to the next slide? So, to sum it up, we can say there are 6 approaches: inquiry based, conceptual, contextual, collaborative, differentiated, and informed by assessment. The inquiry based I am leaving for my co-host, Mr. Tamil. We can just say a few words about the conceptual. It gives the bigger picture. So can we shift to the next slide? Okay, so here, when we are talking of conceptual, we are giving them the bigger and the deeper picture to help them apply in different areas. When we are talking about contextual, we are understanding the global and local context. But remember, we are not ignoring the local context. It is act locally and think globally. Collaborative concept is about teaching approach is about group work, which improves their collaborative skills of the students. And the differentiated, we all know, every child is different. Every student has his or her way. No two child is same. So if we can differentiate as per the learner needs, sometimes it becomes imperative, the differentiation, when the gap is a lot. Through different types of reinforcement and other things, we are able to understand and make the learning effective for those students. And finally, the assessment based, as you know, to test the effectiveness of teaching and learning, assessment is a very, very important tool. And there are various kinds of assessments which all of you know. So, to give an overall picture, I would also request each of you to give your ideas and share your best practices. Yes, Tamil, can we go to the next slide? So here I take a pause. You have got the Padlet with you. Can you please note down some of the best practices or the approaches you have used in your online classroom? I keep on repeating that this is just a educator's chat room. You can say we have just today we have all gathered to share our practices, to share and each other, because everybody has his or her own way of collaborating, his or her own way of dealing with your students. So let us share some of the best practices and take it forward. So kindly note in the Padlet, share your ideas. And you can keep on doing it as the webinar goes on, because that can happen parallelly. There is no problem in that. We can have it parallelly. And if any point, if you have any question also, you can put it in the chat. We will be taking the question answer session towards the end, and also discussions. I would also like you to contribute vocally also at certain points. We'll pause and ask in each of you to please share your ideas. You can unmute your mics and also talk. So take 2 minutes and please write your details in the Padlet and share some answers to this question. Which of the above approaches till now which we have discussed, which of these approaches you have used in your online teaching? Yes. Those who are doing, please share and please write some of the. I hope all of you are able to open your Padlet. There should not be any problem in opening your Padlet. If anybody has any problem, Mr. Tamid will. Okay, we were talking about the approaches to teaching. Tamid, is it possible to go back to the previous screen? Yeah, thank you so much. So those of you who have joined late, we were discussing about these approaches to teaching. And these are some of, in very short, these are some of the ideas when we are, what are the idea behind this approach? Why do we take this approach? So in just briefly in a few words, I have set my idea, also taken through collaboration to other sources. If anything you have to add in this, or whichever you have used in your online classroom, please mention in the Padlet. Anybody has any question, you can put it on the chat. I think we can continue. It will go on. This sharing will continue, so don't worry. We'll come back to it. If anybody has any issues or any questions, we will definitely take it up. Now we come to the main area where we are talking of, online and virtual classrooms. Today in this condition, all across the globe, people are online because of the lockdowns and all this COVID-19 problems which we're having. Yes, I understand most of you have used, and how you have used this, if you can note down a few words, it's fine. And mostly try to use your Padlet to open and write it. Okay, so we are talking about the online classroom model. Let us talk a little of the technology that goes behind it. What is that technology we are talking of? See, in online classroom, technology is the backbone of the classroom. And how does technology help us? See, it is not only now, but technology has always been helping us in our classrooms. In present day 21st century learning and teaching, without technology, we cannot move forward. It saves time and it does a lot of other things. So we have to see that under these distressing conditions, how we can use technology to our advantage. In this context, I am just discussing the SAMR model. It is, each of this, it stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. What is substitution? Substitution is basically when technology is just a substitute. It has no functional improvement. I will give you some examples. Let us discuss this first. When we are talking of augmentation, it has slight functional improvement, but not much. So basically, substitution and augmentation are just enhancement tools. But it is different when we are talking of modification and redefinition. This is very, very applicable and significant under the present circumstances. Modification helps us redesigning the tasks significantly or using technology to a greater depth. And redefinition is about creating completely innovative things which previously was not possible and only technology has been able to help us. For example, I will tell you, in DP you have six, I guess many of you are teaching MYP DP, and I think many of them are from PYP section also. So this is applicable in all. I will take an example maybe from English, which everybody is familiar. Suppose a student wants to know about Shakespeare. What is the conventional method? He will read a book on Shakespeare and try to understand about Shakespeare. When it is a substitution method, he will just read the book, ebook, or online reading of Shakespeare. And when we are talking of augmentation, he may use online dictionaries, study guides to help him understand Shakespeare a little better. What about modification? He may use multimedia resources like text, audio, video to construct knowledge and understand the characters of Shakespeare. And finally, the redefinition, where he will ask himself an inquiry question. How does the culture of the time have an impact on Shakespeare's plays? He can use concept mapping and construct mind maps to demonstrate the key elements through words and images. So we see that all these are so much relevant in today's online teaching. Currently, the situation is that we cannot say that we have difficulty in, of course, there are problems are there, but we can use, technology has given us a lot of things, and it helps us to make teaching and learning effective in our classroom. So anybody has any information or any idea, please note down in the Padlet, or any questions, please carry on. So Tamit, yes. Next, we will come to some strategies and tools which we have been trying to implement in my classroom, in our classrooms. I'm sure you have a lot of other ideas. These are some of the ideas only I have discussed. We understand here that there is a problem in this area. See, students are sometimes not very comfortable in an online atmosphere. We have seen ourselves a very brilliant student who was extremely active in the classroom. When we started online classes, he is not able to concentrate. He misses the classroom atmosphere, or he cannot go through that online, only directly one-to-one interaction. For those people, we can go for asynchronous or self-learning, which you can share through your Google Classroom. There are lots of apps nowadays. Google Classroom is there. We have ManageBack, where the resources can be shared and they can read at their own time and pace. Of course, learning together is very common nowadays. Whenever we are talking of online classrooms, we are talking of learning together, which is a synchronous classroom, which is a virtual way of taking the classroom. Class flipping is something which is nowadays in this online method, it becomes more relevant because many students do not want to hear lectures, which was never a part of the IB curriculum. A lecture method is a very old and conservative method which currently we don't use. No educator nowadays actually encourages lecture method. Class flipping could be done where the basic knowledge could be shared previously and discussions and demonstrations could be done in the class by the students themselves. Mind mapping, all of you are aware, and of course, redesigning the lesson plans as per the requirement of the day. Can we go to the next slide? Yes, these are some of the tools we are using. Discussions and debates which have always been happening. Demos to the videos and simulations. Those who are a group 4 subject who are teaching, like physics, chemistry, biology, ESs, you have PHET simulations, I think FET is the most common. Nowadays with this online, with COVID thing, many of the charged and subscribed onlines have become free. So lots of simulations we are able to use nowadays. There are games, particularly for the PYP and MYP lower classes, which helps the students, stay connected and engaged. Case study analysis is as old as, IB itself, and education itself, I should say. We have group 3 people are particularly, they know that case study they have been always doing and still now. And of course, the problem and project based, which have been used in the PYP and MYP very often. At this point, I would request anybody would like to share any strategy or tools you have used in your online classroom and talk about it. Any volunteer from the group? Can you please unmute yourself and tell a few words, share a few experiences or your best practices? Anybody? Are you able to hear me, all of you? Anybody wants to share?
Hello, Ms. Sujata, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, as I mentioned in the tablet, that give the ownership to the learners,
Yes.
let them present their work and make them accountable of their work and share their practices among their peers. And some of the online I have used in my math lesson using Desmos, GeoZebra are very good. And those are the common practices I'm doing in my lesson. Basically, let the learners participate actively in the lesson rather than just being mute and not sharing. So if I have 10 students in my class, if just 2 of them are participating, then this is not good. Let 8 people, okay, not everyone can participate in the same pace of the lesson. It may not be equally, but let them come up with their views of seeing things. Okay, everyone must have their points of their viewpoint. Let them share it in the lessons. So basically, encouraging them, give them ownership, make them accountable. That's a practice I can think of.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mubin.
Yeah, sure.
Anybody else?
So flipped learning has become very, very useful in this situation for me, where when we meet online, it's more student-driven discussions. And before every start of the class, I usually keep an activity, timed activity, like read something and then there's a quiz or maybe a Kahoot that engages them, and then there's a winner at the end of the day for best participation. Those little skills keep them engaged.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Debaruti. Thank you so much. Yes, anything else?
I've been also been using some tools for online assessments like Flipgrid, which have proved really great because they can see each other's work. So, give each other peer feedback. That has been a nice platform.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, yes, anybody? I think somebody wants.
Yeah, may I?
Yeah, sure.
We use sometimes we use some simulations, and by sharing screen, the simulations can be shown to students, and at the same time, some documents can be shared through Google Classroom as well. And we ask students to perform the experiment at home, make the video of that, and one folder is made on the drive. So every student is supposed to put the video in that. So all the students are able to see each other's video also.
Excellent. Yes, Meghna, thank you so much. So kindly, keep this in you can share some extra in the Padlets also, because we will be sharing the entire thing together after the thing once it is done. So everybody, it is in IB philosophy only to collaborate across the globe. So basically we are trying to do that. across the countries we are trying to collaborate and share the best practices. So thank you so much. Now I come to my part. I am just the last slide where I am talking about the psychological impact of teaching. Nowadays you must understand that the students are going through a very disturbing times. This is also very important as educators, that to be effective online teacher, it is not only necessary that you know your subject well, you know your teaching pedagogy, you know well, but you should also be, understand the psyche and the psychology of the students. You have to be present either in the online classroom, or anytime the student wants to approach you through emails or manage back or any Google Classroom. You should always be able to interact with them. You have to set expectations. Initially, if you tell them the rules of the game, students are always have clarity. They don't get confused. Let the students do their own work. Let them choose. We can give them that much at least to be able to choose their work, so that they'll be happy with what they're doing. Always ask for feedback. Let them give you feedback, so that you understand that you are going in the right track. And above all, show empathy and foster personal relations. Without empathy and personal relations, it is difficult for them. These are not the ordinary or normal times. These are disturbing times with their lockdown and a lot of uncertainties the students are facing, away from their friends, not able to go and play cricket every evening, or not able to chat in the class, attend school. So they're psychologically, we have to understand them and make the journey so that comfortable, so that effective teaching and learning can take place. So now I'll request Mr. Tamid, my co-host, to take over. He will give you a complete thing about the inquiry approach and a lot of software and those helps. Thank you. Mr. Tamid, you can carry on.
Hello, amazing teachers. Thank you so much for joining with us today. Uh, Actually, the realm of inquiry is vast. In today's session, it won't be possible for me to touch all the aspects of inquiry-based teaching. However, I'll try my best to focus on the successful implementation of the inquiry-based online teaching. So, inquiry-based teaching is one of the key features of IB programs. And let's talk about the context first. Due to this pandemic, now we are all conducting our classes online. And the inquiry-based teaching inside the physical classroom is different from the inquiry-based teaching in an online environment. We have to admit that. And because of that, our strategies needs to be different. So who are the inquirers actually? Being an inquirer is one of the attributes of the IB learner profile, where the process is seen as the development of the student's natural curiosity combined with the skill set required to enable them to become a self-sufficient lifelong learners. There are some benefits to this inquiry-based teaching. There are thousands of it, but today I'm going to mention two very basic benefits. The first one is that it stimulates a deeper understanding of concept or a topic, which creates a strong foundation of knowledge. And also this inquiry-based teaching makes the lesson interesting. So the students, actually, they don't get bored. Now, taking this current situation into account, I want to acknowledge some problems. There are many students out there who do not have the resources to join the online education. Also, though there are some schools who prepare themselves for a school closure because of wildfire, snow, flood, maybe like this, but this situation is completely new to all of us. and it is difficult for the students as well as for the teachers to cope with this sudden shift to this online teaching. And especially for the younger kids, it's actually very difficult for them to receive instruction through the online platform. Now it's time for a very quick poll. Use your chat option. Use your chat option. Just type yes or no and tell us, do you think that it is possible to facilitate an inquiry-based teaching without the students' engagement? Just use your chat option and type yes or no and let us know, do you think it is possible to facilitate an inquiry-based teaching without the students' engagement? It's a quick poll. Yeah, I see all the answers in no. Yeah, exactly. So, you know what? Engagement and inquiry. So, based on your reply, we engage other. Today, I will focus on how we can implement inquiry-based teaching in our online classroom. But throughout my presentation, I lean back and forth between engagement and inquiry. Another thing I'd like to mention that all the strategies or the tools that I'm going to mention are not going to be silver bullet or the solution for all the problems. Each student is different. Each classroom is different. So these are the very basics of engagement, as ma'am has mentioned already. Know your students, know what they like, what they do not like. Tell them that you care. Keep in touch with them. Use different messaging apps like WhatsApp, maybe Messenger, maybe Hangout. Keep in touch with them. And it will help us to build a strong relationship. And ultimately, it will help us to keep them engaged. Then come setting objectives. Before starting a lesson, show the objectives to the students, or maybe tell them to make the objectives. Involve them in the decision making. Let them take the ownership, so they will be more engaged. So also, and last thing is ask questions. I'm talking about the online classes. Whenever possible or appropriate, ask questions or set a quiz. Use Google form or Quizlet, anything. Just throw them questions. And this is an environment where a student gets distracted very easily. The paragraph that you see on the screen is directly taken from the ATL website, and I'm going to read it through. An inquiry-based approach, learning is self-directed because it is driven by students' own decisions about appropriate ways in which an issue or scenario might be approached. They bring to bear on the topic any existing knowledge or experience relevant to the issues. The process is student-centered, with the onus always on the student to take initiative, propose routes to inquiry, and follow them thoughtfully. So our very interesting thing here is student-centered. Let the student to take control. It will create an ownership, and let them suggest a guideline for the inquiry. This is the inquiry cycle. Again, it is taken directly from the ATL website. So the inquiry learning cycle is recommended as the basis for both the design and the implementation of classroom teaching practice in the TP and in IB programs more generally. So we have shared a Padlet with you. There are many issues that I'm going to raise. You can share your thoughts or comments on those things in the Padlet. So I'll throw a question or a thought that in this inquiry cycle, where does it start actually? Does it always start from inquiry, or does it start from action? Can it start from reflection? Just you may share your thoughts, ideas in the Padlet. Moving on. Inquiry. To promote inquiry, teachers could present a problem to the students or many problems. And this could be in a form of a question or a photo or a video, or the teachers can use the diverse online resources available. And to solve the problems, students could collaborate through Google Doc, Google Sheet, Padlet, Jamboard, or Google, where they can comment on their ideas and perform a real-time editing. Another thing is that there are so many other softwares or collaborative platforms out there which students can follow. Also, students can conduct their research by using appropriate apps, websites, or simulations. And this brings us to another concern, which is internet safety. There is an app called Kids Discover Online. This app can provide selective information based on the requirements of the learner, and it keeps them focused. This is an efficient online inquiry focused tools that we can always use. But however, these tools are somewhat focused towards the kids, towards the younger students. Also, the students can use, there are many kid safe browsers. Google has one browser named Kiddle. Also, there are KidsPower, KidRex, Marathon kid safe browsers as well. Again, in this current context, what do you think? What would be the role of the parents? I believe they have a huge role to play in this context. So if you want to share your thoughts, ideas on this, use Padlet, please. I want to share this website with all of you. I think many of you already know about this website. And I also know that you have bookmarked tons of resources in your browser, just like I do. But the best part of this website is created or organized, I should say, organized by UNESCO. It is called Distance Learning Solution. The best part of this website is that they actually organized different tools that we can use in our classroom. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's wait for the screen to refresh. Yeah, so I have taken screenshots from that website, okay? You will find here digital learning management systems, self-directed learning contents, system built for use on basic mobile phones, system with strong offline functionalities, MOOC platforms, collaboration platforms that support live video communication, tools for teachers to create digital learning content. So this website actually will give you different ideas about different resources in a very organized manner. So finally, the student can assess their own work. Their friends can assess their works. Their friends can assess their works as well. And one thing ma'am has mentioned, constant feedback from the teacher is required. And teachers could also let the student share their reflection. I think we'll all agree that students can do a lot more than just memorizing. And inquiry is essential to guide the students to think and apply their knowledge in a real world context. I believe schools are more than just academics, but now we're only focusing on academics, but the students are missing all the other things. Combination of teaching with inquiry and purposeful technology can change the learning environment and can make the teaching learning process more meaningful. So I try to touch the very basics throughout my presentation. So I would like to request all of you, if you have any thoughts regarding any issues or the question that I have raised, use the Padlet to discuss. Once we leave this conference webinar, Padlet will be there for our discussion. So now I'd like to leave the floor to Ms.
Mr. Tamid,
Yeah.
some of them I think missed the Padlet link in the beginning, so they were asking to reshare. I think some are already sharing. Yeah. Somebody has shared already. So I believe everybody has the Padlet link now, and any particular question or some idea which you want to discuss at this point, you are free to do. Anybody has any further ideas and best practices which you need to discuss now, we are also available for that. Anybody? You please don't forget to put your email ID in the Padlets, because that pad we can always share the best practices, and the recording will be available in the IB Educators Chat website. You can later on always visit that website, and our recording will be there, shared by Miss Lenny. So yes, there was a question here. How to make worksheets. Yes, Mr. Tamit, would you like to take the question?
Yeah, thank you so much. I would like to request again, put the questions in the Padlet. So I think you're asking how to make worksheets. You can always use Microsoft Word, Google Doc, I guess.
No, she is, I think, asking a little more specific. Worksheets and books in inquiry way.
Okay, okay. I'm not, yeah.
See, I would, but to discuss about this context, I would like to ask everybody, when you are talking of an inquiry way, we are actually encouraging students to ask questions and think about the topic, not just closing their mind and taking whatever this teacher is telling them. So you can definitely pose an open-ended question. The inquiry way could be an open-ended question, and based on that, let the students, in fact, previously somebody had shared, I don't remember the name, that each of the students write their own topic about the particular area. They write certain things and share with each other. Yes, you have to make open-ended questions. The questions should not be like, what is this, what is that? That is not a good way of asking questions. You have to ask a question which leads to further discussions.
I would like to one more thing.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Tamik, please add to it. Yeah.
There are several ways of inquiry-based teaching methods, I should say. There are guided inquiry, structured inquiry, and open inquiry. It depends which route you're following, actually. So if you give them a structured route, that's also fine. If you want to give them a guided route towards inquiry, that's also fine. If you want to give them an open-ended inquiry, that's also fine. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
No, it depends on if, can you elaborate a little more, Tamik, because all may not be conversant with all the three methods. Can you just give a 2 lines on that? It will be easier for them.
Sure. In an open-ended inquiry, you give the student the full ownership. Actually, sometimes the student creates their own inquiry questions and move forward. And guided inquiry, where you will provide some guidelines. And also in the structured inquiry, you will provide all the resources, all the steps, and the student will strictly follow that. So in a very simple way, I can put it like this.
Thank you so much.
Again, I request all of you to put the question in Padlet so everyone can join and comment and help us. Thank you.
Yes, Miss Babita, can you please unmute yourself and give some contributions to that? Miss Babita?
Hello, Ms. Sujata. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, actually, my internet wasn't very clear, so that's why I wasn't coming online. Anyhow, I think you can hear me.
You can add
So
your
where
2 bits in this
Yeah, so
open-ended question.
open-ended questions like we always say what, when, why, which, where, and how. These are the five W's and one H. So this gives students, more space to think about and, express their views, right? And close-ended, like, are you going there? So it's like yes or no. So that is close-ended, right? So there you will not give students an option to describe in detail because they will finish the answer in yes, no. So those are basically close-ended questions.
Thank you so much.
Okay, welcome.
Anybody else? Any question?
Hello, may I
Yes.
something? Hello.
Yes, tell me.
Yeah, I would want to add to this question, wherein it's written that how worksheets can be designed in a more
Yeah,
open-ended
sure, sure,
manner.
sure.
Yeah. So I'm Deepa Chabda from Chaitram International School, Indore.
Welcome, Ms. Deepa.
Yeah, hello, ma'am. Basically, here I would like to say that we need not to have always, the traditional method of worksheets. Probably in the worksheet, we can have a small micro or a macro case study being given, or a situation can be given, an article can be given. And then what we can do is we can use something called argument mapping, which helps in building the critical thinking skills as well. So
Absolutely right.
probably what we
Absolutely
do
right.
is we put up an issue out there in the form of a research question, or maybe anything like it can be a debatable statement or a question, and then you have two or three sides associated to it. You can have different wings out there. Like one is you talk about the positives of the decision, you can talk about the negatives of the decision, and then you can have something like what impact will this decision have on the stakeholders. So this way, we are giving a complete opportunity for a child to explore and give open-ended answers. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Absolutely correctly said. Because currently, with this argumentative mapping is very, very popular nowadays, and in fact, it is a very, very good way to improve your critical thinking approach also. Yes. Any other? Can we move on to some other question? Anybody else? Any other issues you would like to discuss?
Hello, can I put my question?
Yes, please.
You see, Mr. Ansari said that involve students in the determining of objectives. But my understanding is that this, as far as learning objectives of a particular chapter or topic is concerned,
Yes.
unless somebody has a thorough understanding of the topic beforehand, you cannot determine learning objectives.
I completely agree with you. And this situation, actually, this open-ended inquiry is not suitable for all the students.
Okay.
I completely agree with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so if we do not have any other questions, so anybody would just overall add anything as a concluding remark?
Yeah, hi, Ms. Sujata. This is Junaid.
Yes. Good
No,
afternoon, Mr.
good
Junaid.
afternoon.
Yes, please.
I just wanted to reply to Mr. Hareshwar Singh, which is he's talking about the learning objective. See, learning objective is like when you set that what you want your student to learn after that particular, the unit. So you set your learning objectives, that what you want the student to, reach or approach once you teach that. So it's not necessary that they have a thorough understanding of, if you're talking about the students. So we are setting the objectives in the beginning, that this is what we want our students to learn. So I think, are we talking about those learning objectives or is anything else? So learning objective has to be in the beginning of the, the units or the topics, that what you want your students to learn.
No, here I think when we are talking of online classroom, Mr. Junaid,
Yeah. Yeah.
Tamir had also is speaking not only about the topic learning objectives, also about the, how what the students are comfortable and what is their objective of the classroom. It's an overall objective they're talking. It
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
of course, the
So,
topic wise objective student will not have idea because he doesn't know depth, but how do they like the class to take place? What is their choice? That I believe
no,
is what
you,
Mr. Tamid is trying to mean.
yeah, that is what he is right. Amit is right. I'm talking
Correct.
about the other gentleman.
Yes.
So the even for the online the classrooms that we have right now, even students can like collaborate and they can set up these objectives in the beginning. This is how we wanted to learn. For
Yes,
instance,
yes,
different
exactly.
approaches. So these objectives has to be set in the beginning, okay? Or maybe suppose in between during the session or during the classes, if something comes up so you can add on to that. But as per my understanding, the objectives has to be set whether it has to be topic wise or the online sessions, because this is see like this is a part of a planning that what we
Yes,
want our
yes.
students to achieve, whether it is through online or physical. These objective has to be set prior to the the starting of the teaching.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr.
Yeah,
Junaid.
yeah,
And
Hello.
Could I just put in one word?
yeah,
yes,
sure,
I,
sure,
I,
sure.
yeah, I have, it just flashed in my mind, the like you see, you can introduce a topic like I teach English, okay?
okay.
So let's say adjectives, adverbs, or something. I just
Mm-hmm.
introduce them, and then I ask the students, okay, let us start from the premise that we don't know anything, not the teacher, not the students. What does the topic, very topic, okay, tell us? So can you guess? Like, add verb. The verb is hidden, So it could be anything. Geographical features of India, okay? Geographical features, So come on, students, can you guess what could it mean? So the moment this stimulus has been given to them, I'm sure many of them may get excited at the very outset.
Yes, sure, sure, Mr. Singh. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Mr.
If
Jatta,
any,
here I would
yes,
like to speak something. I'm
yes, sure.
Sonali from Sanskar School, Jaipur, and I
Yes,
completely
please.
agree with Mr. Singh from DY Patil. I myself, being an English teacher, I teach DP language and literature, and what he's talking about is absolutely what I agree with. Instead of telling them, like, for example, today I'm going to teach you identity and how identity, has different people have different perspective about certain things when we talk about your identity. Instead of doing that, when we ask them to find out about any social issue or a character in a literature book or a literature novel, wherein they have seen that it has a certain issue based on its identity. So instead of just telling them that, okay, today we are going to learn identity, and uh, asking them to just go through it and find out what is the issue that the character is suffering, I believe that they are more involved in it, and at the same time, it becomes kind of an open-ended thing that they themselves are thinking, and they are more engaged in class.
Correct, correct.
So
Absolutely right. Absolutely right, Mr. Nali. So it was very, very nice to hear, all your diverse views and all the best practices. Yes, Ms. Babita, brainstorming is also a very good way. So if we do not have any other question, we can slowly wind up. I thank each and every one of you to contribute and being a part of the chat, which actually all of us were very happy to attend, and we all learned a lot of, and we'll continue to do that. If you're eager to share your thoughts to the Padlet, that will always be available. And currently Padlet and see what are the best practices, and it is shared with all. So we yes, Miss Aditi, we will, the Padlet link is already shared with you, so it will be given shared with you as per the mail and all you have sent. So Mr. Tamid will be sharing, right, the Padlet also after the meeting. Oh, the link is already there. So once you have the link, you will be able to always, yes, save the link. You will always be able to get the Padlet, and whatever people are contributing, you will get it. So thanks a lot for for your contributions and your important time. And we look forward to more of these discussions in future. Mr. Adnan sir, would you like to add anything?
Technical issue.
Probably his
He has
microphone
an
is off, switched
internet
off.
problem.
Miss
Microphone.
Oh, no, it's
Sujata.
on. Okay, I think he is.
Hello, Miss Sujata. How are you?
Okay, then if it's a problem.
Hello, Miss
Yes,
Sujata.
we'll,
Can you hear me?
okay, then we'll, yes, thank you so much. Yes, Ms. Surabhi, will. So then we
Hello.
can stop here. I think he has an issue.
Yes, yes.
Hello, Miss Sujata. I would like to say
Okay,
something.
so thank you. Yes, hello. Yes, please,
Hello.
please do.
Yes, Miss Sujata. I'm
Yes,
Shrovi
please
from
do.
Playground. Yes, Miss. Miss,
Yeah,
what
sure.
I
Ms.
have
Surabhi, yes, please carry on.
yes, when I was researching for the students to make more interactive, I found some sites where we can get a live worksheet, and it keeps the students engaged. They ask lots of questions from there. So I think if you are talking about the worksheets, so you can actually Google through and research. There are some, I can also share the link if you want. I
Yes,
will share
please
in
do
the
it on the Padlet. Use the link on the Padlet so that everybody
yeah,
can
there is a
get
live
it.
worksheet
Okay.
also. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Miss. So I'm going
Yeah,
to share.
thank you.
Thank you,
all
Miss.
of you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.